Hello, English language learners. Welcome back to the Artificial Fluency Podcast. I'm Emma. In today's episode, we will talk about a common problem many English learners face. Your English is good in your head, but when you try to speak, the words don't come out the way you want. Listening to real-life stories will help you learn how to express yourself more confidently. The more you hear natural conversations, the easier it becomes to speak fluently. So, stay with me until the end, and before we start, make sure to press the like button to support this channel. Let me ask you some questions. Have you ever practiced a conversation in your mind, but when you tried to say it out loud, it didn't sound right? Do you sometimes know exactly what to say, but when you open your mouth, you freeze? If this happens to you, don't worry, you are not alone. I remember a student of mine, Daniel. He had been studying English for years, and his vocabulary was excellent. He could understand movies, read books, and even write well. But when he had to speak with a native English speaker, he would panic. His mind would go blank, and he would forget even simple words. He once told me, "Natasha, I can say everything in my head, but my tongue doesn't listen to me when I try to speak." One day, Daniel had an important presentation at work. He had prepared everything, practiced in front of the mirror, and even wrote down key points. But when he stood in front of his colleagues, he struggled. His voice was shaky, and he kept stopping mid-sentence. After the presentation, he felt frustrated and asked me, "Why is this happening to me? I know this language, but I can't use it when I need it the most." Does this sound familiar to you? Many learners experience this because they don't practice speaking enough in real situations. It's one thing to know a language in your head, but using it in conversation is a different skill. The good news is that this problem can be fixed. Let's talk about why this happens and what you can do to speak English confidently. Daniel's story is not unique. Many English learners experience the same thing. You might feel confident when thinking in English, but when it is time to speak, your mind goes blank, or you struggle to find the right words. Why does this happen? Let's break it down. One big reason is lack of speaking practice. Many learners spend time reading, writing, and listening, but they don't practice speaking enough. Imagine learning to ride a bicycle by only reading about it. You might understand how it works, but if you never get on a bike, you won't know how to balance or move forward. Speaking English is the same. You have to use it regularly to feel comfortable. Another reason is fear of making mistakes. Many learners worry about speaking incorrectly. They think, what if I say something wrong? What if people don't understand me? Because of this fear, they avoid speaking. But the truth is, making mistakes is part of learning. Even native speakers make mistakes, and nobody speaks perfectly all the time. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Let me share another example. Sarah, one of my students, moved to Canada for work. She knew a lot of English, but when she tried to speak with her co-workers, she hesitated. She kept translating from her native language in her head before speaking. This made her sentences slow and unnatural. One day, she decided to stop translating and just speak, even if she made mistakes. After a few weeks, she noticed that her speech became much smoother. Sarah's experience teaches us something important. Stop thinking too much about grammar while speaking. When you are having a conversation, focus on communication, not perfection. Think about how children learn a language. They don't study grammar rules before speaking. They just listen, repeat, and improve over time. You can do the same. So how can you make speaking English easier and more natural? Here are a few simple techniques that can help. First, try speaking out loud every day. Even if you are alone, talk to yourself in English. Describe what you are doing, plan your day, or even tell a short story. This will help you get used to. Another great technique is thinking in English. Instead of translating in your mind, try to think directly in English. For example, if you see a beautiful sunset, instead of thinking in your native language and then translating, just say in your mind, "The sunset looks amazing today." This simple habit will help you speak faster and more naturally. I had another student, Ahmed, who was always afraid of speaking in public. He would practice in his head, but when he had to speak, his voice would shake, and he would forget what he wanted to say. To improve, he started recording himself speaking every day. At first, he didn't like how he sounded, but after a few weeks, he noticed a big improvement. Listening to his own voice helped him identify small mistakes and correct them. Practicing with real people is also important. If you don't have a speaking partner, try speaking with an AI assistant or joining an online English speaking group. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. Now let me ask you, what is one thing that stops you from speaking English fluently? Is it fear, lack of practice, or something else? Think about it, because once you know the problem, you can start working on a solution. That's a great question to think about. What exactly is stopping you from speaking English fluently? Understanding the problem is the first step toward fixing it. Now let's talk about more practical ways to train your brain and your mouth to work together when speaking English. One of the most effective ways to improve is by shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a sentence in English and repeating it immediately after the speaker, trying to copy the pronunciation, speed, and rhythm. This technique helps you get used to speaking without thinking too much. It also improves your pronunciation and confidence. Imagine hearing someone say, "Good morning, how was your weekend?" and instantly repeating it in the same way. If you do this often, you will get used to forming sentences naturally. I once had a student named Hassan. He was very shy and never spoke English in class. When I asked him why, he said, "I understand everything, but I don't know how to say it out loud." I suggested that he practice shadowing with English podcasts and audiobooks. At first, he found it difficult, but he kept going. After a few months, his speaking improved a lot. He no longer hesitated before speaking, and his pronunciation became much clearer. Another useful technique is speaking in chunks. Instead of trying to construct every sentence word by word, learn common phrases as whole units. For example, instead of thinking, "How do I say that I agree with someone?" just remember the phrase, "I totally agree with you." If you memorize these chunks, speaking becomes much faster because your brain doesn't have to build every sentence from scratch. Let me tell you about my friend Carlos. He moved to an English-speaking country and struggled with conversations at first. He told me, "I know the words, but I can't put them together fast enough." I advised him to learn phrases instead of individual words. He started writing down common expressions like, "That makes sense," I see what you mean, and can you explain that again? Whenever he had a conversation, he used these phrases, and soon, speaking became much easier for him. Another important thing is confidence. Many learners have good English, but they don't trust themselves. They think, my accent isn't perfect, or what if I make a mistake? This negative thinking makes speaking even harder. But let me tell you something. Your goal is communication, not perfection. Even native speakers have different accents and make mistakes sometimes. The key is to keep going. A great way to build confidence is by practicing speaking in front of a mirror. This might sound silly, but it works. When you talk to yourself in the mirror, you become more comfortable with the way you speak. You also notice things like your facial expressions and body language, which help in real conversations. I remember another student, Fatima, who was very nervous about speaking. She would always look down and avoid eye contact when talking. I suggested that she practice in front of a mirror for 5 minutes every day. She started doing this, and after a few weeks she told me, I feel more comfortable now. I don't panic when I speak. Another useful method is recording yourself. Many learners avoid this because they don't like the sound of their own voice, but listening to yourself helps you hear what needs improvement. It also makes you realize that your English is actually better than you think. One of my former students, Jacob, hated hearing his own voice. But I told him, just try recording yourself once a day for a week. He did it, and by the end of the week, he noticed that his sentences were becoming clearer and more natural. Recording yourself helps you find small mistakes that you might not notice when speaking in the moment. Another trick to improve speaking is asking and answering your own questions. For example, imagine you are in a conversation and someone asks, "What do you do in your free time?" Instead of struggling to answer in the moment, prepare for these questions in advance. Sit down and write answers to common questions, then practice saying them out loud. I had a student named Omar who wanted to be more confident in conversations. I gave him a list of 20 common questions like, where are you from and what do you do for work? He practiced answering them every day. After a month, he told me, now, when someone asks me a question, I don't panic. I already know what to say. Another great method is talking to yourself throughout the day. If you are cooking, describe what you are doing in English. I am cutting vegetables. Now, I am adding salt. If you are walking outside, describe what you see. The sky is very blue today. There are many people in the park. Doing this helps you think in English naturally, without translating. Let me share one more story. My friend Aisha moved to an English-speaking country and had trouble speaking at first. She told me, I always translate in my head and it slows me down. I suggested that she stop translating and start thinking in English. So she started describing everything she did in English, even simple things like brushing her teeth or making tea. After a few months, she said, now I don't translate anymore. English comes naturally to me. So, if you feel that your English is better in your head than when you speak, don't worry. You are not alone, and this can be fixed. The key is practice, confidence, and learning the right techniques. You don't have to be perfect. Just start speaking, even if it's not perfect, and you will improve over time. Now let's go even deeper. Why do some people learn to speak fluently faster than others? What habits do fluent speakers have that make them confident? Let's explore that next. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with speaking, even when they understand English well, is fear of making mistakes. Many learners worry about grammar, pronunciation, or saying something incorrectly. This fear stops them from speaking at all. But let me ask you a question. How did you learn to speak your native language? Did you wait until you knew all the grammar rules? Of course not. You just started speaking, and over time, you improved. The same thing applies to English. Let me tell you a story about my student, Ahmed. He was an advanced English learner. He could read books, understand movies, and even write essays. But when it came to speaking, he froze. He told me, "I don't want to sound stupid." I asked him, "Would you laugh at someone learning your language if they made a mistake?" He said, "Of course not." Then I said, "So why do you think people will laugh at you?" That moment changed his mindset. He realized that making mistakes is part of learning. After that, he started speaking more, and within a few months, his fluency improved dramatically. Another common reason people struggle to speak is lack of practice. Many learners focus on reading and writing but don't speak enough. If you want to get better at speaking, you have to speak every day, even if you don't have a partner. Here are some simple ways to practice speaking alone. Describe your day. Every evening, take 5 minutes to talk about what you did that day in English. For example, this morning I woke up at 7 a.m. I made tea and ate breakfast. Then I went to work and had a meeting with my manager. Doing this regularly helps you form sentences naturally. Use a voice recorder. Record yourself talking about any topic, then listen to it. You will notice small mistakes and improve over time. Talk to objects. This might sound funny, but it works. Look at an object in your room and describe it. For example, "This is my chair. It is made of wood and has a soft cushion. I sit on it when I work." Doing this helps you think in English without translating. Ask and answer questions. Pretend you are in a conversation and ask yourself questions like, "What do you like to eat?" "I like to eat chicken and rice. It's my favorite meal." "What do you do for fun?" "I enjoy reading books and going for walks." One of my students, Jamal, struggled with speaking because he had no one to practice with. I gave him these exercises, and he practiced them daily. After 2 months, he sent me a voice message. I was shocked. His confidence had improved so much. He told me, "Now I can speak without hesitation." Another powerful method to improve speaking is thinking in English. Many learners translate from their native language before speaking, which slows them down. The solution? Train your brain to think directly in English. Here's how you can do that. Start with simple thoughts. Instead of thinking in your native language and translating, try forming basic English sentences in your head. For example, if you see a dog, don't think, "That's a dog" in your language and then translate. Just think, "That's a dog" in English. Label things around. Use a walk around your house and name objects in English. Say, "This is a table. This is a window. This is my phone." The more you do this, the more natural it will feel. Narrate your actions. If you're cooking, think, I am cutting vegetables. Now, I am boiling water. If you're getting ready in the morning, think, I am brushing my teeth. I am putting on my shoes. Ask yourself questions in English. When making a decision, try thinking about it in English. Instead of thinking, should I wear a jacket today? In your native language, think it in English. I once had a student, Amina, who always translated before speaking. She told me, it takes me too long to say a sentence. I challenged her to think in English for 1 week. She started describing her daily routine in English, and soon she noticed a huge improvement. She told me, now words come to my mind faster, and I don't translate anymore. Another key factor in speaking fluently is listening more. When you listen to natural English conversations, you learn new words, phrases, and sentence structures. But listening alone is not enough. You need to actively engage with what you hear. Here are some ways to do that. Repeat what you hear. If you're listening to a podcast or an English speaker, pause and repeat their sentences. Try to copy their pronunciation and rhythm. Write down useful phrases. If you hear a phrase, that sounds natural, write it in a notebook and try using it in your own conversations. Answer questions out loud. If you're watching an interview or a conversation, pause and answer the questions yourself. For example, if someone says, "What do you do for a living?" Pause the video and answer in English. One of my students, Bilal, wanted to improve his speaking, but he didn't have a practice partner. I told him to use these techniques. After a few weeks, he told me, I feel more comfortable speaking now because I have trained my brain to respond faster. Another important tip is using body language and facial expressions when speaking. Speaking is not just about words, it's also about how you say them. Even if your English is not perfect, using gestures and expressions makes you sound more confident. Let me share a story about my friend Yusuf. He was learning English for work but struggled with speaking. His boss once told him, confidence is more important than perfection. Yusuf started using hand gestures and making eye contact when speaking, and suddenly his communication improved. People understood him better, even if he made mistakes. So, if you ever feel nervous when speaking, remember, speak with energy. Use your hands, smile, look people in the eyes. These small things make a big difference. Let's dive even deeper into how you can take your speaking skills to the next level and become more fluent and confident when speaking English. At this point, you know that improving speaking isn't just about knowing words and grammar rules. It's about developing strategies to think in English, practice regularly, and be confident enough to speak without hesitation. Now let's look at connecting your ideas smoothly to make your speech sound more natural and fluid. This is one area where many learners struggle, and it can make a big difference in how fluent and confident you sound. When speaking, it's important to connect your thoughts in a logical way. Sometimes learners speak in short, disconnected sentences because they focus too much on individual words and grammar. But native speakers don't usually speak like that. They connect ideas, build on them, and speak in a natural flow. So, how can you improve this? The answer lies in linking words and transition phrases. Linking words help you connect sentences and ideas. For example, if you're talking about your day and want to go from one idea to the next, you can use words like first, then, First, I woke up at 7 a.m. and then I had a cup of coffee. Next, I went to the gym for an hour. Then I met a friend for lunch. You can also use transition phrases like, in addition, I enjoy cooking. In addition, I like to try new recipes. For example, I like sports. For example, I play basketball every weekend. On the other hand, I love spending time outdoors. On the other hand, my sister prefers to stay inside and read. Using these linking words and transition phrases will make your speech sound much more connected and natural. The key is to practice them so they become automatic. Let's go back to my student, Ahmad. He had the words, the grammar, and the vocabulary, but his speech often felt disjointed. He would say, I woke up, I had breakfast, I went to work. It wasn't wrong, but it didn't sound very fluent. So I worked with him on using linking words to connect his ideas. After a few weeks, Ahmad's speech flowed more smoothly. He said things like, first I woke up early, then I had a quick breakfast. After that, I went to work. This made a huge difference, and his confidence grew because his speech sounded more natural. Now, let's talk about intonation and stress. When speaking English, how you say something is just as important as what you say. Intonation refers to the rise and fall of your voice while speaking, and stress refers to which words you emphasize. Native speakers use intonation and stress to express emotions, emphasize key ideas, and make their speech more interesting. If you want to sound more fluent, you need to pay attention to these aspects of speaking. For example, let's look at a sentence like, I can't believe it. If you say this sentence with flat intonation, like I can't believe it, it sounds a bit robotic. But if you change the intonation, you can express different emotions. If you say, I can't believe it, with a rising intonation, it shows surprise. If you say, I can't believe it, with a falling intonation, it shows disbelief or disappointment. Stress also plays a role. For example, in the sentence, I didn't say he stole the money, you can change the meaning simply by stressing different words. I didn't say he stole the money. Maybe someone else said it. I didn't say he stole the money. I said something different. I didn't say he stole the money. I didn't say it, but someone else might have. Learning to use the right intonation and stress will make your English sound much more natural and expressive. Practice by listening to native speakers and repeating what they say, trying to copy their intonation and stress patterns. Speaking confidently also means being able to handle pauses. A lot of learners are afraid of silence or pauses when they speak. They feel that if they stop, they're making a mistake or not being fluent. But pauses are completely normal in any conversation. In fact, they can make your speech sound more natural. Imagine this. You're speaking with a friend and they ask you, "What's your favorite hobby?" You might pause for a second to think about your answer. That's perfectly fine. In fact, it's a sign that you're taking time to give a thoughtful response. So, don't be afraid of pauses. Embrace them. In fact, pauses can help you sound more fluent because they give you time to think and organize your thoughts. One of my students, Miriam, used to panic when she paused during conversations. She thought it meant she wasn't fluent. I encouraged her to pause when she needed to and take her time to think. Over time, she became much more confident in her speaking, and her fluency improved. Another great way to improve fluency is by practicing real-life conversations. This is one of the most effective ways to improve speaking. Why? Because it helps you practice English in the context where you'll actually use it. It's different from memorizing phrases or grammar rules. Real-life practice helps you think on your feet, respond naturally, and you can practice real-life conversations in many ways. For example, language exchange. Find a language partner who speaks English and practice speaking with them regularly. Speaking clubs. Join a local or online speaking club where she can practice conversation with others. Role-playing. Pretend you're in a situation, like ordering food at a restaurant or talking to a coworker. Practice these scenarios in English. When my student Layla started practicing real-life conversations, her speaking skills improved rapidly. She joined a weekly English speaking group where they discussed different topics like travel, food, and current events. She told me, "At ease, first I felt nervous speaking with others, but after a few weeks I became more comfortable. Now I can talk to anyone in English without worrying about making mistakes." Another technique that works wonders for fluency is reading out loud. This method helps you practice pronunciation, intonation, and fluency in a low-pressure setting. You can read anything out loud, books, articles, or even social media posts. Try reading at a natural pace, as if you were speaking to someone. This helps you get used to the rhythm of English speech and also builds your confidence. I have a student named Tariq who loves reading but was always too shy to speak. I told him to read his favorite books aloud every day for 10 minutes. After a month, he said, "I feel more confident when I speak now." I think reading out loud really helped me. Lastly, let's talk about setting goals for your speaking practice. One reason many learners feel stuck is that they don't have clear goals. Setting small, achievable goals can help you stay motivated and track your progress. Your goals could be something like speak for 5 minutes every day in English. Record yourself speaking once a week and listen to the recordings to track improvement. Have at least one conversation in English each week. Setting goals helps you stay focused and keeps you moving forward. One of my students, Salim, set a goal to speak English for 10 minutes every day. At first, it was challenging, but over time, he became more comfortable. After a few months, he told me, "I've improved so much, and now I speak without thinking." It feels natural. The key is to keep practicing, keep building your confidence, and keep speaking, even when it feels hard. Each time you speak, you are getting closer to your goal. So, whether you're practicing alone or with others, use these techniques to become more fluent. And remember, making mistakes is okay. Every mistake is a step forward. Just like learning. To walk or ride a bike, speaking English takes time, but with consistent practice, you will improve. So keep going, and don't let fear or hesitation stop you from reaching your full potential. Let's go even deeper into how you can improve your speaking skills so that the English in your head matches the way you speak out loud. We've already discussed connecting ideas using linking words, intonation, pauses, and real-life practice. Now let's focus on strategies to think faster in English, train your brain for natural speech, and overcome hesitation when speaking. Thinking faster in English. One of the biggest reasons learners struggle to speak fluently is that they translate everything in their head before speaking. If you always think in your native language and then try to translate into English, it slows you down. Instead of flowing naturally, your speech gets stuck because your brain is working in two languages at the same time. So, how can you think faster and more naturally in English? 1. Label everything around you in English. A simple but powerful technique is to train your brain to think in English by labeling everything around you. Right now, look around your room. Instead of thinking, "This is a table," in your native year language and then translating it, just say table in English immediately. Try this with everything: window, chair, bottle, book, phone, wall, door. The more you do this, the more your brain gets used to thinking in English without translation. Describe what you're doing in English throughout the day. Try describing your actions in English, even if it's just in your head. If you're brushing your teeth, say to yourself, "I'm brushing my teeth. The water is cold. My toothbrush is blue." If you're cooking, say, "I'm chopping vegetables. The knife is sharp. The food smells delicious." This forces your brain to stay in English mode, which helps you speak more fluently when you need to. Answer simple questions quickly. Another great way to train your brain is to ask yourself simple questions and answer them quickly. For example, "What did you eat for breakfast?" Don't translate, just answer in English. "What's the weather like today?" "What are you going to do tomorrow?" The goal is speed, not perfection. Even if you make mistakes, it's okay. The key is to train your brain to respond in English without hesitation. Many English learners feel stuck because they can understand English in their heads, but when they try to speak, they freeze, forget words, or struggle to form sentences quickly. This happens because speaking requires quick thinking, confidence, and lots of practice. Now let's break this down into different areas. Why does this happen? Understanding the problem. Before we fix the problem, let's first understand why it happens. Many learners face these common issues, translating from their native language. If you always think in your native language and try to translate, it slows you down. English has different sentence structures, so direct translation often sounds unnatural. Fear of making mistakes. Many learners hesitate because they worry about grammar or pronunciation. This fear stops them from speaking freely. Lack of speaking practice. Reading and listening are great for learning vocabulary, but if you don't practice speaking regularly, your brain won't be trained to recall words quickly. Overthinking. Some learners try to make the perfect sentence before speaking. But conversations are fast, and pausing too long can make you feel nervous. Now that we understand the problem, let's focus on solutions that will help you speak faster, sound natural, and gain confidence. Thinking. Directly in English to improve speaking, you must train your brain to think in English. The goal is to reduce hesitation by making English your default language for thinking. Here's how. A. Name things around you. Wherever you are, start naming things in English. For example, if you're in your kitchen, think fridge, spoon, glass, sink. If you're outside, think car, street, traffic light, tree. This simple habit forces your brain to recall words quickly without translating. B. Describe your actions throughout the day. Describe what you're doing in English, even in your head. For example, I am making coffee. I need to send an email. The weather is nice today. At first, you might feel slow, but with practice, your brain will think in English automatically. C. Use English for simple decisions. Whenever you make a decision, try to think through the process in English. For example, should I wear a jacket today? It looks cold outside. What do I want for lunch? Maybe rice and vegetables. The more you do this, the faster your brain will process thoughts in English. Speaking without hesitation. Many learners feel nervous when they speak. They pause, search for words, and worry about grammar. Let's look at some ways to speak smoothly and confidently. A. Use sentence starters. One trick is to use common phrases to start your sentence. This gives you extra thinking time. For example, I think that learning English is fun. In my opinion, practice is very important. One example is my friend who learned English quickly. Using these starters makes you sound more fluent and helps you avoid hesitation. B. Don't worry about mistakes. Fluency is about communication, not perfection. Even native speakers make grammar mistakes. Instead of stopping to fix a mistake, just keep going. Most people won't notice small errors. C. Practice speaking every day, even alone. Speaking every day, even for a few minutes, builds confidence. If you don't have a speaking partner, try these. Talk to yourself. Describe your day, plans, or thoughts. Record your voice. Pick a topic. Record yourself speaking. Then listen and improve. Read out loud. Reading aloud helps you practice. Pronunciation and fluency. The more you practice, the more natural and automatic speaking becomes.